Hello, if you're new here, my name is Mike, and if not, welcome back to my channel. And today I want to talk about something I've struggled with most of my life, and I know a lot of other people do too, and that is how to find yourself when you feel completely lost. Now, a lot of us are always trying to figure out who we are as people, what we like to do, and where we're going in our life. And I think sometimes we can get stuck in this mindset, and we don't really stop to ask ourselves the relevant questions to help give us these answers we're looking for. So today what I did was I wrote down 5 questions that apply to just about anyone, that when you have some time, you can sit down, write down the answers to these, and hopefully it gives you an idea of some of these questions you're asking yourself. So with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so starting with question number 1, this is, how do you spend your free time? Now it may sound simple, but it's not something we often think about, right? Sometimes when I ask people this, they say something like, well, I don't have any free time. I'm busy with X, and I can't get into this because I don't have a moment for myself. If you really think about it, every single one of us has some type of free time. Some of us have 5 minutes, some of us have 5 hours, but regardless, there's some type of a lull in every single day that you have, whether it's a couple moments or a little bit longer, to have to yourself. And within that time, whether we realize it or not, we're making these choices to spend it doing a certain thing. It doesn't have to be something that's big and grandiose, but it is something that you're choosing to do with that time. So for example, what I'll go ahead and tell you that I do for myself is whenever I have a free moment of time, I usually find that I pull up YouTube and I'm looking up videos for sometimes creators I follow, and sometimes I'm just looking for new people. I really use this as an opportunity to learn and just really kind of get a different perspective or something that I haven't seen before. It's not only YouTube. Sometimes I'll pull up articles and just read about things, anything from local news to global geopolitics or anything else that I find interesting. A lot of times I'm always trying to seek out information for, perspectives I haven't heard before, or maybe ones that just I think that I disagree with, to see what is this other side saying. So that way I can learn something new and maybe use it as something as part of a conversation or something else just for my general knowledge bank moving forward. So asking yourself what you do in your free time and kind of taking inventory of that is the first way to go ahead and start to uncover a little bit more about yourself. Okay, and so for question number 2, I want to ask, what are your 3 most important core values? Now with this, it's tough to narrow it down because there's so many of these that you can pick from. I get it. But if you did have to narrow this down to just the top 3, what would those be? Really, I think if you're having a tough time even identifying what core values and things are, if you just jump onto Google and type out, list of core values, you'll see some lists that have 100, 200 different ones to pick from. So take some time, kind of go throughout those and just read. And then when something really resonates with you, I'd say write those down. You can write down more than 3 to start off with. And then as you kind of have your little compiled list there, what I would say is just cross them off and identify what those top 3 are. And to give you an example of what they are for me, mine are authenticity, freedom, and compassion. If you can't tell by now, I really love when people are their authentic selves. I try to do that in my life, no matter who I'm talking to or what I'm doing. So that means a lot to me. Freedom is big because I love freedom of schedule, freedom of time, choice, speech, everything, really. I love the ability to kind of be yourself and to choose what you'd like to do within these facets of life. And then compassion is important for me too, as kind of like a parallel to empathy in a certain way. But I really appreciate being able to kind of see where people are, meet them where they are, and do what I can to help them if that's something they want in their life, whether it's through perspective or anything else via those means too. So ask yourself, what are your top 3 core values? Okay, so question number 3 is, who/what inspires you and why? So the real specific thing I want you to look at here is the who/what. Because there is a difference. Sometimes people take inspiration from an idea or a group or something that's different than a specific person, right? So for example, you can be inspired by a humanitarian organization's mission, an environmental organization's mission, or something else kind of along those lines. And some people really take inspiration from a specific individual for whatever reason that may be. So whether it's an individual or something different than that, ask yourself, why are you inspired by this person and or thing? And really kind of write out all these details as much as you can. The more detailed you can get, the more information you can flesh out and write on your piece of paper. I think it's important to kind of see what these are, because you may surprise yourself with some of the things you write down. This is a question, and sometimes we take inspiration from people and we think about it, but we don't really think about why and how that resonates with us and particularly stands out. So for myself, I get inspired by people more often than ideas. Doesn't mean I don't get inspired by both, but I tend to lean more towards the people. Someone in my life that has always been inspirational is an individual named JL. JL is a person I worked with in a capacity at one of my jobs before. And I really am inspired by somebody like him because, just like a lot of us go through adversity, or sometimes life throws circumstances that you're not prepared for. But in the midst of all that, sometimes you see people become their best self. He was a person that maintains positivity, always encourages individuals around him. If you tell him your name once, he'll remember it the next time. If you tell him a detail about yourself 6 months later, he'll remember that. Someone that always tries to make people around them better, maintains a fantastic attitude, and is someone that you look up to in every single capacity for the way they conduct themselves and the way they choose to move forward in life. So people like JL and other people in my life and, prominent figures and stuff sometimes that I see that, exemplify some of these qualities are people that inspire me. And so when I see these things, I always try to look at it as a way to become a better person in my life each and every day that I wake up and choose to do anything that is on my docket for that day. So ask yourself, who plus what inspires you? So as these questions go on, they get a little bit tougher, right? And so this is definitely a tough one. And the question is, what is something you don't often tell others about yourself, but wish they knew about you? Now, I ask this for a specific reason because oftentimes when I'm talking to people, I hear things like, I wish they saw me for who I am. Why can't they just understand this about me? I get it, right? In a perfect world, people would be able to look at us and see us exactly for who we are, who we see ourselves to be. But sometimes we come across these things where, we tell people this is exactly who I am or what I like. And other times we don't tell them and we just think it's implied and they should know this. Now, I would love if that was the case, but it's not always. So when you think about what is something you don't often tell people, but you wish they knew about you, what fits this for you, right? Do you want people to know that you're good at juggling 10 different tasks at once and still, be able to keep a better attitude than a lot of other people around you that struggle with this? Do you want people to see you as an intelligent person when they don't necessarily view you like that? Do you want someone just to look at you and say, man, that person, they're funny. I appreciate the humor coming off them. It doesn't have to be something big, grandiose, and very serious. But if you ask yourself, what is something you don't often vocalize or say out loud, but you wish they knew about you, this can really say a lot. For me, the example I'll give is that I'll keep this brief too. I'm an only child. I don't have any siblings. And I was also part of a military family growing up. So every couple of years, I moved around a lot. And there's some good and some bad things that come with that. Now, the things that were good that came from that, I would say, is that my perspective is a lot different than people. And ever since I was a kid, I started thinking in the bigger picture of life and different things that sometimes when I come across adults now, they don't think like that. And I wish that people understood that my perspective sometimes is the reason that I'm kind of standing off to the side by myself, physically and metaphorically, because I just don't always resonate with the group think or the way that people go about stuff. And so instead of people kind of judging and thinking, oh man, why is he doing this? Why is he always going to be different? I'm not trying to be different. I just am myself. And I wish that people understood the perspective I have is just different. And so a lot of things I do are different too. And sometimes the judgment or the looks I get are kind of tough to deal with. And I'm like, I wish people knew this about me. But like I said before, it's hard to expect people to see these things and know these things. But if you ask yourself, what's something you don't often tell people that you wish they knew about you, this is important to kind of flesh out the way that you view yourself. And so this brings me to the fifth and final question. And that is, how do you want to be remembered? Now, I've heard this somewhere before, and I can't remember exactly where, but it's like the tombstone analogy. So if you think about, at some point in our lives, we're all going to move on, right? So if you were to reflect back on your lifetime and you had your tombstone there, one day it said your name and 1 or 2 sentences below it about yourself or however you want to be captivated within that description, what would you write on there, right? So this can be anything. It can be serious. It cannot be. It can reflect on anything you want in your life. And to give you an example about maybe what I would think for myself, and this isn't, some perfect elevator pitch. It's just something I was thinking about. I would say something along the lines of Mike made others laugh, think, and feel, and trying to help others see the bigger picture in life, to inspire them to live their life to the fullest, shift their perspective, and care more about their fellow neighbor. It's not perfect, and I know that a lot of that has to do with other people, but for myself, that's what gets me up in the morning. That's what makes me feel happy. I enjoy doing that. I do it for no money. I do it for all the money in the world. It doesn't matter. It's something that I care about very near and dear to myself. So yours can be about anything. It can be about legacy, your family, your community, completely about yourself. There's nothing wrong with any of that. But if you're going to ask yourself, how do you want to be remembered? Take some time and really think about this one, because it can say a lot about the way you view yourself and how you want to be viewed by others too. So by asking yourself these 5 questions, I think this is a really good starting point to help understand, how you find yourself in this world when you feel completely lost, right? I mean, everything starts with just asking yourself the right questions. And I think that, like I said in the beginning, it's easy to just get stuck in the whole, who am I? And not really kind of ask, like, how do I figure that out? So hopefully these questions are, helpful to you. What I would recommend is taking a piece of paper and a pen, going to your favorite coffee shop, park, or wherever you can find a few free moments of your time to kind of just relax and be with yourself to answer these questions. Put your phone away. Unless you're going to jump on there and give me a like and subscribe to this channel, then you have our permission to go ahead and do that. But besides that shameless plug, go ahead and take your time. Really write down these questions, write down the answers. And then at the end of it, what I would say is kind of as a bonus there, circle the words that keep showing up that are common, or the themes and things you keep writing down at the end of this. And I think you'd be surprised to see some of the patterns that come up and that indicate a little bit more about who you are in this fast world too. So I hope this helped. Go ahead and drop a comment below. Let me know if it helped you or not. Hope you have a great day as always. Take care. I'm going to see you all in the next one. Peace.